Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Entrepreneur Hour. Today is another one of my book episodes. But I'll start off with some updates. Been having some good conversations. If if you know me or seen my content for a while, I've been talking a while about creating a fund to fund innovation um, in supposed mostly in communities of color, but anywhere. I want to be involved in as much innovation as possible, whether it's creating it, funding it, working on it, whatever. So I'm getting further and further along in that, and it's looking very good that I'll start to have funds to allocate to projects and innovation. So that's super cool. Um, and I am talking to people about even sponsoring this, right, what I'm doing here with the Entrepreneur Hour. People are liking it. People in finance, people in investment, people in the startup world, and they're giving me topics to talk about. They're giving me potential more guests, right? But one of the main things I am educating myself on through this process is the understanding of every aspect of an investment, right? So coming from the side of a creator, I always try to understand how a founder needs to look at investment, and then um, make sure that they understand what they're taking, the risk they're taking by taking investment. But now, as I'm trying to be on the investor side, I am learning from the investor's risk, right? So, in talking to investors and trying to understand their side, I've been getting a lot of gems. Like it's really, really cool to be on both sides of it. And now there's even this extra side that they are telling me I should be creating content around, which is educating the public on how they can invest in innovation, which is a very, very new thing that's been possible. And I'm really, really learning now from that side of the table as a person that, let's say, I wasn't doing what I'm doing as an investor or as a creator. How about as a regular individual, like that just wants to be involved in innovation, even if it's just by giving $100, $200, $10, $500. So now I'm starting to get every piece of that puzzle, and I'm going to create content around it. And how this comes back to my book is I want this book to start the understanding process, and maybe great idea now what is not just for the entrepreneur. Maybe now it is for the entrepreneur, for the investor, for the entrepreneur and the investor. And when I say investor, I used to mean accredited investor. Now I mean anyone, because now anyone can invest in ideas. The company just has to be put in a certain situation to allow anybody to invest. So now I'm really thinking about the book and saying maybe half of the book, maybe not half, whatever, is talking about how to create an idea and get investment and make it work. And then the other part of the book is to educate people that want to invest and want to be involved in innovation, and maybe don't want to be CEOs or coders or whatever they believe is what innovation is. What I do believe is we need each other. I think every part of this, because an innovation without funding is nothing. And if you look in history, many of the greatest innovators died broke. And the reason for that was they could only go to accredited investors to invest in their ideas. But now that the general public can be an investor, that changes the game. There's a lot of, so if you look at communities of color, right? And again, I'll just take the Bronx. There's 1.4 million people in the Bronx. If each gave $1, that's just ridiculous because not everybody's gonna give $1. But let's say on average, each person in the Bronx gives $1 to an idea. That's $1.4 million. That idea does not need to go the traditional accredited investor route, and the community will own it. So let's say one of the kids at Metabronx is a super genius, and we've had a few, and they come up with the next Facebook for our environment, for our people, black and brown. Facebook and companies like that are started out with a few $100,000. Uber was started out with $300,000. It's worth $80 billion now. Imagine this community gave that $300,000. And now as Uber grows in value, this community reaps that reward, not just the same rich people that keep investing in ideas. So I believe what I'm going to start doing now for my book is I'm going to angle it more for one, innovation, which I spoke about last week, and I know the audio was messed up last week. If the audio was messed up, please somebody text me to put it in the chat, because I didn't know till after, and I wrote out for the whole hour with bad audio. So the book I'm looking at is how to educate the person that wants to innovate and the person that wants to support innovation. So if you are a creator, you can understand through this book the steps you have to take. And I'm even creating a course. I'm working with my friend who just exited a technology startup in San Fran. I worked with him for years, and he's finished. Like, you know, after you exit, you have to work a certain amount of years to get the full amount that you are going to get in reward. So he exited, and now he's free to do whatever he wants. And he calls me up and he's like, I love what you're doing. Let's work. So I've been working with him on creating a course around how to create a company from start to finish and innovate, right? So that's one thing. I'm working with the investors on how to educate the public on the opportunities. So for instance, right now there's companies, there's cannabis companies, there's technology companies that you can invest as a individual, not worth millions of dollars yet. You could put $100, $20, $50 in the next big cannabis company that you think is big, because they are on a platform called crowdfunding platforms. So I'm going to start working with these platforms to educate the public on the possibility and the opportunity. And then I'm going to put some of the Metabronx companies, some of the companies I'm involved in, some of the companies that end up on this show that may not even know. This is so new. Most people don't even know it exists. That's how crazy this is. And that's why I always talk about, even that is an innovation, right? Think about that. Like, it's 5 years ago. If you had a great idea, you had to hope you got in front of investors, which traditionally, historically, didn't invest in people like us. Black, brown, women, they accounted for like 10% of all investment. So now we don't need to do that. We can go to us. Like, and the way I envision it, and hopefully this is where it becomes, is you see these influencers, you see these people that get millions of views for comedy, for entertainment, for jokes and pictures of booties and stuff, right? I want to see people getting millions of views to their innovation ideas, and then getting 1% of the people to give $10, $20, $50. And then those innovations are created and owned by the community that they come from. That to me is my hope. So that's where I'm trying to put the puzzle pieces together, right? So first step is having people understand what this is. So if you go to a website like truecrowd.com or republic.co, there's companies already that exist. So I'm going to break it down for you, just in case you're watching and you don't know what I'm talking about. There's something called the Jobs Act. Obama passed the Jobs Act right around the time he left office. Before he was doing that, he sent people into the communities of color, and I got to meet with the people that were asking us how we would want this to come out. So of course, I say always what I think. And what ended up happening was they passed a law that allows anyone to invest up to $107,000 a year on companies like these. The worry is that people can get taken advantage of. But stock market, people are getting taken advantage of. Lotto, people are getting taken advantage of, right? But they don't worry about that. So that was kind of what I said in the meetings. I'm like, yeah, but I wouldn't worry so much about it. I'm sure people are not spending $100,000 a year on Lotto, and you're not worried about that, right? So why worry about them taking advantage of this? Because this will give them opportunity that they never had before. You can invest in Amazon day one versus investing now. Amazon is worth $1,000 a share. You know, and the people that made the real money were in the very, very beginning. That's how it always works. The early investors make the most money. So if you can't be an early investment, you're making money at the tail end, and it's very, very little compared to what people make in the beginning. And I'll give you an example. Because now I'm in all these sides, I'm in conversations and understanding of how true early investment works. So a company in the beginning asks you for $25,000, right? Let's just do that math because that's the math I saw. You take $25,000 as an early investor, you put it into this company. This company is then expected to double in revenue every year for 7 years on average. And then they're either IPO'd, which means they go to the stock market, or they're acquired by a bigger company. The way that works is, let's say, make the math easy. First year, that company does $100,000 in revenue. I put $25,000, and then they started doing $100,000 revenue. Next year, they do $200,000. Next year, they do $400,000. So that's 3 years, right? 100, 200, 400. Next year, 800. Next year, 1.6. Next year, 3.2, right? So now this company has done $3.2 million in sales, and that's low. All these numbers are low. 25,000. My investment is now worth, if they exit and on that 7th year, they exit at a multiple of the revenue. So now we have 3.2 million in revenue. So companies come and they buy it for 10 to 20 times the revenue. And I'm hearing artificial intelligence companies are selling for 50 times revenue. Do that math, right? So if we said, just to make the low 10 times, that's $32 million. That company went from nothing, took a $25,000 investment and probably more, and now it's worth $32 million. Your investment of $25,000 will be worth $700,000 in 7 years. So think about that when you invest $250,000, $2.5 million. These numbers become astronomical. Billions and billions of dollars are being made. But because we're not in those early rounds, we don't even know what's going on. So that's why I got into venture capital, right? I understood that that's where the real money was being made. And it's almost criminal that we are not in this game. Like, especially right now when innovation is the economy of the future, right? So to me, it's like we have to be involved, either creating or supporting by using or investing. So how does this matter with the book? The more I'm trying to gather information from different people in the space, the more I'm learning about how this really works. So an investor told me straight up, look, if you're not an investor, you're an employee, right? And that hit me because, you think, okay, I'm a CEO, right? If you're a CEO of your own company, you're the boss. Once you take investment, you are in a way not the boss anymore. The people who are giving you the money get their money before you get your money back, right? So let's take a scenario, and this is where I'm going to play out every scenario. If you take even that 25,000, right? The first 700,000 that's made goes to that investor before even you get paid. So you want to be the investor too. Like, I'm in any company I'm involved in, I'm telling all the people involved, we want to put in money too. We don't want an investor to come and drop in 100,000 and they own even close to what we own. We want to have a situation where it's better that we have their money, but we don't need their money. So, and I know that's tough. That's really hard to do, especially, you know, in communities of color. So how do you get around that? Crowdfunding. Crowdfunding is a way. If you look at these websites, the True Crowds, the Republic, if you can go to the crowd and say, look, I'm willing to take $25 from 10,000 of you. Now, those 10,000 people are not going to be your boss. You have a fiduciary, I forgot what they call it. It's kind of like you have to make sure that you're going to try to pay these people back. You can't just take the money and be like, all right, thanks, right? You have to say, okay, what am I going to do with the money? And then you have to keep up with them and say, okay, this is what we've been doing. And this is how we're growing, because the next round, let's say the first round you raise, like I said, 10,000 people at $25 is, I think, 250 grand. 10,000 times 20. Yeah, it's 250 grand. 10,000. Yeah, 250K. Let's say you raise that at a $5 million valuation. So 5 million. So that's about 0.5%. Yeah, so you just gave away 0.5% of your company for 250,000 to 10,000 people, right? So now, instead of giving it to one organization or one person, it's easier to navigate that. You're not as much on the hook to answer the 10,000 people as you are to answer that one or that 5, right? So that's one of the pros. The cons are, you got to have an audience. You got to be able to get to 10,000 people or a lot more, because not everybody that sees it is going to invest, right? So how do you do that? And that's where I've been trying to create the partnerships, because every hole that I could see in this puzzle piece, this puzzle set, I'm trying to figure out how to close it. So I've been closing one of those holes, and I'll be able to make an announcement on that pretty soon. But the reason why I bring it up is, anyone watching this, you are interested in innovation, whether you understand it or not. If you're watching something from me, I've caught your attention because all I talk about is innovation, right? So entrepreneurship is innovation, point blank, period. Even if you have a pizza shop, you are trying to innovate, because you're not just taking the normal route to making money. So if you are interested in being involved in innovation, you can be involved in multiple ways. You can create it, you can fund it in different levels, or you could just support it by using it, right? Just by using an app. So I have people on the show every week, just by downloading their app and creating an account, you have supported that founder. That founder now may be more likely to raise the money that they need, because they can show investors, look, we have this many users, people like my idea. And if you don't like it, you can support that founder by telling them why you don't like it. The more information like that a founder has, the more likely they are to create a good product. Twitter, Facebook, Uber, Airbnb, they all didn't start out great products. They started out very bad, and they fixed it over time. That's how this works. So those are the 3 ways, and that's how I look at my book, and how I'm going to start creating the book in an environment that gives information to all 3 of those types of people, right? So another big thing I'm going to do today on this show is, normally I was using Evernote to show how I was creating this book, right? But now, by working with my friend in California, he showed me this new tool called Notion. What Notion does is, Notion puts a bunch of tools into one place, and it's freaking amazing. So I've been starting to really get into it, and even the course that I'm creating can be created in Notion, and I can just give people access to my template on how to run a company from start to finish by giving them Notion templates. And that's pretty much what I'm working on. I'm working on a template that will say, okay, you have an idea. Now, here's the template to understand step by step what do you have to do to make the idea a reality. And then once it's a reality, what you have to do to get to the point where you make millions of dollars. So I'm going to create the step-by-step booklet. It's a big reference if you don't know. Then I will, of course, sell that, right? It's going to be the book is going to be one thing to buy. And then if you want access to this system is another thing. So trying to create passive income. If you look at what's going on right now, if you don't have multiple revenue streams in this time, I don't know what, or you're not starting to think about how to create multiple revenue streams. In this pandemic, I don't know what else you need to see. This is one of the craziest times in history. And if you're just relying on your job to make money, I'm hearing left and right. Every single day I hear people getting fired. And I'm hearing, so I think I've said this in other episodes, but you may or not have heard it. In Meta Bronx, we work with people at every level: investors, banks, foundations, right? So I get to have conversations with pretty much people on every level. Luckily, I had a conversation with someone at a really, really high level that told me it's going to be bad for 2 years and really, really bad, like Great Depression bad for 2 years. And they wanted to know how they could support Meta Bronx so it could stay alive for those 2 years. And I remember thinking, holy crap. I know most of the world does not know that. I didn't know it. And I'm as close to it as you can be. And I didn't know it till he said it. And I'm like, this guy works for one of the biggest, you know what? I'm not even going to say it. Let's say one of the biggest organizations in the world. Organizations that controls money. How about that? Let's make I'm not gonna say the organization, but one of the biggest organizations in the world that controls money. He's one of the top guys. And he is saying for the next 2 years it's gonna be like really, really, really bad. So I bring this up because I've always tried to have multiple revenue streams. I didn't spend enough time on doing that till the pandemic hit. This show, for instance, this show is one of my ideas of how to generate a new revenue stream, right? Show makes no money at all. Right now, it gets like 500 views across all these platforms. Each show maybe gets 500 views. Sometimes I'll get a nice hit and it goes to 1,000, whatever. That's not going to make advertising money. And somebody asked me, actually multiple people asked me, do you make money from doing the show? I don't, not yet. But these shows will live forever. And eventually, if something hits and all these shows start to get millions of views, I will make money. But I'm not even banking on that. That is a nice to have, cherry on top. How this show makes me money is relationships. Right now, this book, hopefully, once this book comes out, people come and watch this, and it creates more attention to the book. People buy the book more. Then the book sends people to my course. And my course will be something that just lives, and I don't need to do anything other than maybe show up 2 times a month and talk to people, and it'll make me money. I know people making hundreds of thousands of dollars doing that right now in this pandemic right now. So that's where I said, all right, I'm going to go figure that out too. At the same time, I'm working on a bunch of mass ideation projects, right? I'm working on securing an Airbnb. So once this is out, that will have revenue stream. Meta Bronx, right now it can't pay me, but as this grows, it will be able to pay me. So right there, that could be 4 revenue streams, right? But all this takes a lot of work, right? And then, of course, I'm creating a startup, which I don't know if I've told you about, but you'll be hearing about it very soon. So that's another possible revenue stream. And then consulting, people that just want my time. And I'm doing one of those too, where people just buying my time for a certain amount of time a month. And that's another revenue stream. So that is how I'm looking at it. And right now, there's never been a better time. For me specifically, the pandemic has been a silver lining for me because it put me in my home for months and I couldn't go anywhere. And it just let me focus on building my revenue streams. Nobody could just pull me into random meetings. If you want to have a meeting, you got to be on Zoom or Google Hangouts. So it was quick and I didn't have to travel and all that stuff, waste hours and hours. So that was good. Also, it made me not have to spend as much money and move around as much to with my kids. So, you know, I'm trying to take advantage of this time. So I've been putting together all these revenue streams. The book is a huge revenue stream to me, not because I think it's going to make me money, right? The first time, I'm not going to say I put out a book and it makes me money. I want to get in the process of understanding how to make books, how to put out information in a way that draws people in to my funnel. And my funnel is going to be that course and my time, right? And mass ideation will just be a byproduct of that, where if people want to hire my company, they can, you know, and I didn't invent this template. If you look at anybody creating content, it's all the same template. It's just very rarely is it people like us creating the content. And that's one of the biggest things I see. And that's one of the biggest things I get. Nobody like us is doing what you're doing. There's the Ty Lopez's of the world, right? Ty Lopez, Miguel Sanchez. Ty Lopez, I believe, is in a different area. And there's people that like Ty Lopez, people that don't, right? They think what he sells is not valuable. I never want to be thought of like that. And in a way, the people I'm working with, they have to make me more interested in making money, right? A lot of times I'm like, I'll just put all this out. I'll put it out. And they're like, no, if you do that, you can't get to the millions on the course. And I'm like, yeah, but fuck it. I don't want to, I'd rather just give the information away. And they're starting to shift my mindset to say, no, if you can't generate enough revenue where this is all you do, you'll never get big enough. So you have to figure out how to get to that point. These other people, like a Gary Vaynerchuk, where he gives it all free, it's because he has a company that's paying him millions. He's a speaker. He speaks. One speaking engagement, he makes $200,000. So of course he doesn't need to make money from other things. But for people like us, we have to figure out how to make money from other things. People like me. So one thing is the book, right? So I'm going to start showing you how this new app I found helps me. And I'm going to start transferring stuff over. For the last half hour, I'm going to show you how I'm going to start using this new app to figure out my book and figure out my course and figure out my personal life, figure out my businesses. It's an amazing program. And I've been playing with it for a few weeks now. And now I'm going to really get busy with it. So, all right. So first I'm going to start out with Evernote, right? So Evernote is a tool that I use and I've been using for years to store information, right? So I put it here and it's out of my brain. They call it the second brain. So you can only hold a certain amount of information in your head or you're going to forget it. So what you do is when you get that information, you put it in an app like Evernote and now it's out of your brain, but you can come back to it. You're not going to just forget it. So I've been putting stuff in Evernote for over 10 years, probably close to 15 years. Wow, that's fucking crazy. So when I thought about the book, I just been putting it in Evernote. Then I came across this app called Notion. And what Notion does is it mixes Evernote. I don't know if anyone here knows about Trello. Trello is this app that I use for project management. It creates what's called a Kanban system. So a Kanban, oops, that's not what I want to do. So what a Kanban system is it creates, all right, you know what? Let's do this. So we're going to go to roadmap. So a roadmap is what technology companies do to make sure they understand everything they want to do and everything they're working on right now. So here, if you look, this is a roadmap for a product. Not started yet. In progress. Completed. So what you do as a technology startup, this is called product management, is, let's say day one, and this is definitely going to be covered in the book. Day one, we say we want to have an app that does X, Y, and Z. But the bigger goal is for it to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, right? So what you do is you put in here all of those things. And then you say which is the priority and who's going to work on it. So you move it over here. So now it's in progress. And look, Ben is working on it and Zeno is working on it. This is a template that you get out of Notion. Before you even mess with it at all, you could sort, you can do all kinds. It's crazy. This is nuts. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at this tool and saying, I can run all of my businesses out of this tool. Each one will be represented in here. Look, you can go in and see all my businesses, and each one will have its own thing. I got my personal life in here, habit tracker. So, you know, anything you can do in this app, right? So mass ideation, if I'm doing whatever I'm doing in mass ideation, right now we got multiple projects going on. I can manage them there. Meta Bronx, I'm working on a new logo for Meta Bronx. That's not the logo, but that's the start of it. I'm working on a bunch of stuff. Big Shot is the new startup that we're about to launch, and you'll hear more about that. The My Ideas community is another revenue stream I'm trying to figure out, right? And of course, it goes back to the book. Because as I read more books, I just keep seeing people do the same thing. So what I'm thinking about doing here with the My Ideas community, is creating an environment where if you are a creator, an investor, or a supporter, you come into this community and I'm going to show you the behind the scenes of all the people that I'm interviewing, all the people that I'm working with that are not being interviewed, and you can decide to support, invest, or create with them. So that's a thing that I'm also working on, and I'm trying to figure out how to create it alongside the book and everything else. So, you know, I'm working on a lot of things, but that's just how my brain works. I'm definitely an ADD type creative where I need to be working on a bunch of things, but also focus. So I'm lucky that I'm able to do that. So when I look at here, I'm going to start creating the book, right? So let's say I'm just starting it right now. And the way it works is you can create an icon that goes with each thing, right? And then you got a cover image, right? You can change the cover image. So let's say you could use Unsplash and say books. And let's say I wanted to use that, right? So it makes that as the background. And then you start. See, and you could start empty with an icon. You could start empty with just, oh shit. I didn't even do that. You could pick a template, right? You could pick tables, boards, lists, calendar view, gallery view. So you can do multiple in the same one, right? So for the book, I think I'm gonna do table of contents, right? So then I'm gonna go to my Evernote and I'm gonna start transferring things over. So right now the working title is Great Idea Now What? So the book, and maybe I say Great Idea Now What? Or maybe I don't call it the book, I just call it Great Idea Now What? So here, all right, this is gonna be the name of the table of contents. So we start out with the forward, but actually I want to have this because this is important. I want to remember some of these, like the tagline to the book. You know, you see the title of the book. So for instance, the book I'm listening to right now, well, I'm listening to a bunch, but So, for instance, the one I was listening to this morning is called Profit First. Transform your business from a cash eating, damn, my eyes are, from a cash eating monster to a money making machine, right? So, Profit First, I'll put the link in there. This book is really good at understanding how, as money comes in, how to use it to grow. Because a lot of entrepreneurs, especially solopreneurs, we get the money in and we just pay ourselves. And then we don't grow because we don't have the reservoirs to grow. We need cash reservoirs to grow. So Profit First, I have to come back to it a lot because some of the things I need to remember for businesses, for my business, and for the other ones I'm creating. So right now, I'm listening to it because mass ideation, I kind of like brought mass ideation down to just me again and a bunch of freelancers. And I'm getting a lot of work in and I'm thinking about, okay, should I grow it? And by what I'm going to do is I'm going to start implementing Profit First in mass ideation, which I used to do. And I stopped doing it because I stopped taking as much work in mass ideation. Now I'm coming back to looking at it and I want to make it, I want to grow it again. So I'm going to do Profit First. And that's the benefit of being an entrepreneur. I get to make those decisions. It's not like somebody can fire me. I say, okay, I don't feel like doing as much of that anymore. So I don't, right? So, all right. So let's go back to the book. How to be successful. All right. So these are some of the ideas that I want to, no. All right, I'll do this. All right, description. All right, so here's where I'm going to play around with some of the ideas. All right, so how to be a successful entrepreneur in 2020 and beyond. This was when I was thinking about it, where it was just a book for people with ideas. It's been evolving. Even by me doing this hour a week, it's been helping me to evolve it. How to turn your business idea into reality. That again kind of goes into the just people with ideas. The new realities of business was when I started trying to angle it towards innovation, because part of me wants to tell people, we did this, we had this exercise with one of the startups that I'm building right now. There's two ways we could have started this startup, and you'll hear the whole story once we get there. I'm definitely going to create content around it. Where we were angling the business towards kind of building the old business model with technology on top of it, like just putting band-aids on the old business model. But we had to keep telling ourselves, and through the different partners that we have, which are amazing, everybody that's involved is awesome. How do we continue to think about this and not think about the old business model? How do we not end up building Blockbuster instead of building Netflix, right? So when I say I want to angle this around innovation, I believe because we've been left out of this for so long, people of color are just getting into the business of building businesses. And I believe we are being taught the old business model. We're being taught how to build blockbusters. And right now, if you're not building Netflixes, you're screwed. So to me, I don't want to put out any content around building blockbusters. I need to be pushing everybody watching this to be building Netflixes. You need to build the new business model, not continue the old business model, because what happens if you don't? Netflix or someone else will build a Netflix and just kill your company. Look what's happening with Amazon. Look what's happening with Uber. Look what's happening with Airbnb. If you're not creating those, you're getting left behind by them. And my motto as a influencer content creator is, I don't want people to be left behind. Most importantly, my people to be left behind by innovation. So how am I going to do that? This book is going to be one way. I'm going to show you what other people are doing to create innovation, right? And I'm going to break down exactly what they do step by step. And then I'm going to even show you new innovations that are being created as I create this book. Things like what I'm working with MIT, the cooperative movement, which is not an innovation. It's been around since the beginning of time. People actually, and by having Caitlin on my show, she reminded me pirates ran a cooperative. They were all in bed with each other to make as much money and split it. And they elected a captain. And that's how we use right now. Our election process is built on pirate ships. Think about that. It's freaking crazy. So co-ops are not innovative. But what MIT is working on, and they've asked me to help, is how to bring the cooperative movement into the technology movement. And that's where it's super interesting. So I'm working on that too. Another thing in my plate, but I don't work on it too much yet. But it's the future. I honestly believe it's the future of how business has to work, or communities that are not rich are super screwed. So to me, oh, okay, community screen too small. How about that? All right, thanks, George. So looking at Notion, great idea. Now what? So after today and talking that out right now, I want to say how creators, investors, and supporters can make innovation I want to say more common, or because the problem with innovation is it's not obvious to most people. That's why people are called innovators, right? Because they can see things that most people can't see. So it's not as common. So part of what I want to do is start educating the people, and as many people as possible, on what innovators see that makes them invest, create, and support, right? There's people who are early adopters. So if you ever heard of that, early adopter means when the new iPhone drops, there's people online around the block. Those people are called early adopters. That's a very small percentage of the population. But those people are so interested in innovation, even though they're not creating it, they want to be the first ones to get it. Not saying everybody should be that. I'm definitely not waiting online, and I am one of those people. But there needs to be more understanding of what's happening when one of these phones comes out. There needs to be more excitement than even now. You may think there's already a lot of excitement, but it's a very small percentage of the population that understands what this can do. Very small. So even with MetaBronx, the work I do at MetaBronx is to start teaching these kids from like 13 years old how to look at this industry in this world, and hopefully find the next Zuckerberg from the Bronx, right? And hopefully it's a girl, right? It's a woman of color that creates something that men just would never think about because we're not women, right? So part of what I want to do with this book is teach anyone who's interested how to look for innovation. There you go. There you go. All right, all right. How creators, investors, and supporters. Let me just put how to. I don't know. I gotta really think about this more. And anybody has any advice, I'll give you credit in the book. How I gotta think about that more. So let's go back to the table of contents. So I'm gonna go back to Evernote. So the forward, right? The forward. What's really cool about Notion is, check this out. I'm gonna make a new page. I'm gonna call it forward. I'm gonna start. Oops. I'm gonna start empty, and I'm just gonna start typing. Actually, I'm gonna put what I have in here. Here are the people that I want so far in my forward, right? Elon Musk. So you could. All right, so I can even list it like that, or I can create it in a list, right? Right? So now it's here, right? So now what I can do is I can literally drop it in here. And now when you click this, you go into the forward page. And actually, I did that very wrong. Hold on. That was wrong. That's not how you should do it. Hold up. Still learning the program. So I'm going to delete. Actually, let's be. All right. All right, here it is. Let's put this back over here. Oops. Like I said, I'm learning this. Okay. I'm going to just copy this again. Make a new page. Forward. And then here, there's a way to make it so files in here are like embedded. So now, I'm definitely doing it wrong. All right, see how forward is here now? So if I click forward, I go into forward. So you can make it so one file, it's called like relational databases. Like you can have a bunch of things in one file. You could bring in Google Docs. You could bring in images, video, embed. You could do all kind of things in here, right? So let's look at this, for instance. This, they might have did it better here. Yeah, this is what I meant. This is what I was trying to do right here. See, so right here, you go into mobile flow and it starts breaking down the mobile flow of this thing, right? So I won't do this because this actually has investments in it. I don't want to show that right now. User research. All right, let's see here. So each one of these tasks is its own page, right? One thing I could do is I could make all of the sections here, and then I could make it where whichever one is in progress, I have in progress. And then once it's done, I move it to completed. And I know, okay, I have 7 chapters of the book done, right? So that could be another way I do this. I got to think about it. I'm going to look more at people that use Notion to see if there's anyone that is creating a book in Notion. Part of what I wanted to create content around today is just showing Notion and me starting the process of looking at it. And even right now, I have some questions. I'm also taking a course. I think I'll tell you, I'm taking a course by a woman that teaches people how to make millions of dollars making courses in Notion. So that to me is worth it. And once I make it, I'm going to make my own course for sure. I'll make a course. I'm making a book. There you go. Another one. So yeah, and here, see, Innovation Classroom, right? So I'm already starting to figure it out. So here's like the curriculum. I'm the instructor. Here's the recommended reading for the book. I mean, for the course, right? Here's the books that I'm going to recommend. And look, the one that I just told you I'm reading, Profit First, is on there. And so you understand the way this works. Everyone that clicks this link to buy the book, I'll get commission by I created affiliate links. I create affiliate links everywhere. So all this content I create is just like little drips of income. And that's how people get rich. It's not, you don't get rich from just getting $1 million from one thing. You get rich by getting 50,000 here, 70,000 there, and then it becomes 50,000 a month from this, 50,000 a month from that, 80,000 a month from that, and then you look up, you got 7 streams of income giving you a lot of money, and that's how you stay rich, right? You don't just make $1 million and then waste $1 million. You got to consistently be making money, right? So I'm studying all the ways people do it, and content creation to me, it's one of the best ways. It's one of the best ways because it works on every level. Every level, because right now I'm getting more mass ideation business because I'm creating videos, right? That's really the reason. I'm getting more investment opportunities because I'm creating videos. I'm able to have a fund sooner because I'm creating videos. Like, this would not happen if I was just in my room working on stuff and not letting anybody know. And I know it's people look down upon like doing this. And even me, you think sometimes I don't feel crazy? Like, I'm talking to myself here. Like, I'm in my room. I'm in a room talking to myself, right? Of course, I know there's people watching. Let's see how many people are watching right now. Not that many, but there's people watching. But sometimes it's like, what am I doing, right? And I got to motivate myself. Like, you know what you're doing. You're creating personal brand that will tie into everything you do, and it will help everything you do make more money. Meta Bronx, for instance, right now, because of this content, Meta Bronx is gaining significantly, like so much, because of what I'm doing here. And I don't even mention it that much. Think about it. Like, I don't mention Meta Bronx that often in these videos, but people are watching. And you may see like 50 views, 20 views, 10 views, 80 views. One of those views sometimes is like a person that's really, really high level. So you just never know. And you got to create it with the idea that it's going to be there forever, and you just never know what's going to bring. So, I know that's what a book does too. That's why I'm creating a book too. That's why I create a podcast. That's what all this stuff is. More ways for people to find you and what you do. So what better way to create content than to create content around me making the book? I feel a lot of people tell me I shouldn't be doing this, by the way, but that's why I'm an innovator. Nobody has ever done this. I'm the first one, I think. If you find somebody else that's done this, let me know. First one to make a book live, right? That's innovation. So I'm going to go back to the book, and maybe I create the table of contents in a different way that I'm trying to do here. All right, so forward. I wonder why this is like this. You know what? I'm gonna. All right, but I can do this board. So remember what I said about I can make the board. So right. Oh, that's cool. It literally changed it and everything. That's awesome. Huh. All right. All right, but I don't need to do that. I don't want to do that. All right. So now I can put it all here, right? I'm just gonna put it all right here. All this. Right. So now forward is there. Then I go to my story. So I will my story. I can add an icon. My story. It's crazy. I got a crazy story, so I'll put the crazy icon now. So then I'll copy what I have so far there. And I'll paste it. So over time, like I'll say, in progress, completed. Oh, you know what? Ready for editor. I'm definitely gonna need an editor. If you ever read one of my emails or text messages, you know I'm gonna need an editor. So in progress, haven't started. I'm gonna put. Oops. I'm gonna put haven't started. So then I'm gonna move this over. I'm gonna put my stories in progress. Forward haven't started. So also, I just thought of something. I should put it in order. So I'm gonna make 00 forward because that's like not really a chapter. My story will be 01. Right. So then I know the sections, right? And then I can below link to the same files. So I'll have the ability to move stuff around. Like, okay, let's say I start writing the forward, or I get Elon Musk to start writing the forward. When he sends it to me, I'll put it in there and I'll drag it over, right? So that's this. I used to do this in an application called Trello. So there was Trello, there was Evernote. Now with Notion, I can do both those things in one platform, and then I can connect people to this. I can create, see how I can share, and I can share with people, and they will have access to this. So when I get the editor, I will share this with the editor. Or multiple editors, I don't know, whatever it is. So that's the beauty of Notion. And took me a while to listen to my boy about it, but it's pretty good. And I'm gonna start moving everything over, figuring out how to make this more about innovation and teaching creators, investors, and supporters. I got to figure out what the tagline is going to be now. And then I'm going to just go back through all the sections, put them in here, put whatever I had. I just think if you look, right, this is night and day compared to how I was doing it in Evernote. It was just like sections on sections on sections based on bigger it was just it wasn't as efficient. I feel Evernote is amazing. I love it. I'm still going to use it, but I am going to move a lot of my stuff into Notion. I just see the way Notion can be one file, that one app that rules them all, you know. And if you watch today, thank you. I look forward to educating you guys more on these opportunities. I really want to start showing you some of these companies, man. Like, it's really, really a crazy opportunity for innovation. Like, and you don't even have to be rich. You can have $100. You can have $10. You can just have an idea. Right now, there's so many people doing amazing things. It's crazy. I can't even get them all on my show. I'm trying to get them all. I got the show's kind of maxed out for like a while now, and I gotta be like, all right, how can I maybe put some people in front? Because some people, their stuff is so ready to get investment and stuff that I'm like, should I try to replace them? It's just a good problem. But I definitely thank you for watching. And if you have any advice for anything you saw here or any questions, definitely reach out, please. I'm trying to make this a community thing. I don't know what people want. So part of me is trying to create it, but without knowing the back and forth, I could be creating something that people don't really want. So that's part of why I want to do this live. I want to make sure I'm answering the questions that people have, or maybe don't know they have, till they see this. So thank you again for tuning in for the Entrepreneur Hour. Tomorrow I got a guest. Don't even know who it is right now, but I know I got a guest. And have a good day. Have an innovative day, and stay safe. Thank you.